Imagine this. You wake up, grab your phone, scroll through social media, and suddenly, an hour has passed. You don't even know where the time went. Now, let's say you do this every day, maybe even a few hours a day. Sounds harmless, right? But what if you just can't stop? What if you feel like you need it? That's kind of like what addiction can feel like, and it's not always as obvious as you might think. Hey there. Today, we're going to talk about something that affects a lot of people even if they don't realize it. Addiction. No, we're not just talking about drugs or alcohol, but we'll get into that too. Addiction can sneak into our lives in ways you might not expect. So what is addiction? At its core, addiction is when you can't stop doing something even though you know it's not good for you. It's like being on a merry-go-round that you can't get off even though it's making you dizzy. You keep going around and around, and no matter how hard you try to stop, you just can't. And no, it's not just about substances. Addiction can be about behaviors, too. Example. Let's say you love playing video games. At first, it's just a fun way to relax. But then, you start spending more and more time on them. You miss meals, forget to call friends, or even lose sleep. The games are fun, but now you're feeling like you need to play. That's the tricky part. It goes from, I want to play, to, I have to play. Now what is the brain and addiction? Now, your brain is pretty clever. It loves patterns. Every time you do something that feels good, like eating chocolate cake, playing games, or checking your phone, your brain releases a chemical called dopamine. It's like a reward that makes you feel happy. Imagine it like a little high five from your brain every time you do something fun. Sounds great, right? But here's the catch, the more you repeat the activity, the more your brain wants that high five. It starts to crave it. And the more it craves, the harder it is to stop doing the thing, even if you know it's not so great for you. It's like your brain gets a little spoiled by all those high fives. Here just few examples of addiction. 1. Food addiction. Ever eaten an entire pizza by yourself? No judgment here. Some people can't stop eating even when they're full. They just keep going because their brain is saying, more, more. It's not about being hungry, but about that craving for pleasure. 2. Social media addiction. We've all done it. You check your Instagram, then your Facebook, then your TikTok, and suddenly, it's 2 hours later and you've forgotten what you were doing in the first place. Social media is designed to keep you scrolling with new posts and likes. Your brain gets hooked on the quick rewards. It's like a never-ending cycle of scroll, like, repeat. 3. Shopping addiction. Maybe you've bought something online that you didn't really need but felt really good about it. Right. Now, imagine that feeling every time you buy something. That little high you get when you purchase something new becomes addictive. It's not about the stuff, it's about the feeling. The rush. It's like getting a gift for yourself every time, even if it's just a pair of socks. 4. Work addiction. Some people can't stop working. They're always on the grind, even when they're not at the office. It might seem like a good thing because they're so productive, but when work takes over every part of your life and you stop doing things that make you happy, that's an addiction too. So, here's the thing, the cycle of addiction. Addiction is a cycle. It starts with something small, like a habit, a routine, or just something you enjoy. Then, it becomes more and more frequent. Eventually, you start to feel like you need it, and before you know it, your life starts revolving around it. It's like planting a tiny seed in your mind that grows into a giant, unmovable tree. Example. Imagine trying to quit sugar. At first, it's easy, right? But then, you get a craving, and one little cookie turns into a whole box of cookies. And now, you're wondering, why can't I stop? Your brain gets used to the sugar high, and you feel like you have to have it to feel good. Now we think, Why is it hard to stop? If addiction is so bad, why don't people just stop? Well, that's the tricky part. When you try to quit, your brain doesn't like it. Remember those dopamine high fives? It's like your brain is throwing a tantrum when it doesn't get its fix. It might make you feel anxious, stressed, or even really upset. That's why it's so hard to just snap out of it. Addiction messes with your brain's chemistry, and breaking that cycle takes time and effort. Example. Let's say you're trying to quit smoking. You might tell yourself, I'm done with this, but after a stressful day, you might reach for a cigarette again. It's the brain's way of saying, I need my fix. It's not that you don't want to quit, it's that your brain is used to the reward. So, how do you break free from addiction? It's not easy, but it's possible. The first step is recognizing that it's happening. Once you understand that your brain is hooked on something, you can start to take control. The trick is to replace the bad habit with something healthier, like going for a walk, talking to a friend, or even doing something creative. You need to find a new way to get those dopamine high fives, but in a way that actually benefits you. Example. If you're addicted to checking your phone all the time, try setting aside a specific time for social media, and then spend the rest of the day doing something you enjoy without distractions. At first, it might feel weird. Your brain might even throw a tantrum. But over time, it gets easier. It's like teaching your brain a new habit. Addiction isn't just about drugs or alcohol. It can be about anything that takes over your life and stops you from enjoying other things. It's tricky, but understanding it is the first step. If you're struggling, you're not alone. Everyone has their own battles, and breaking free from addiction is a journey. But with time, support, and small changes, you can start taking control of your life again. So, next time you catch yourself scrolling through your phone for hours, ask yourself, am I in control, or is my phone controlling me? And maybe, just maybe, take a break and go do something that makes you feel even better than that endless scroll.